Hi guys, today's video is an updated eyebrow routine and I want to show you how you can do your eyebrows in 5 minutes, so definitely do keep on watching. So we're starting off with clean eyebrows. As you can see, I do have very sparse eyebrows, but if you have very thick eyebrows, this method can also work for you. Starting off with a clean spoolie, I'm combing my eyebrow hairs upwards. Then I'm going in with this retractable razors. These ones are from Jumia. If you are shopping on Jumia, you can use my September code, which is KJMitch1. I'm going to put it down below for a discount. What I love about these razors is that they are retractable. So I'm just removing any excess hairs or any sparse hairs that are on the outer edge of my eyebrows. One way that you can be able to clean up your eyebrows, especially if you're not very conversant with trimming your eyebrows, is just outline your eyebrows as you normally would, the top part and the bottom part. I'm using a Davis pencil in number 18. Alternatively, if you are a bit more melanated, you can use number 3 or number 40. These pencils are literally in every cosmetic store in Nairobi, and if you are not in Nairobi, you can also get something similar on Amazon, and certain brands usually also have something similar. So what you want to do is outline on the top and on the bottom part, and then any hairs that fall outside those lines, that's what you want to trim. And you always want to make sure that your razor is at an angle, but also you're using very little pressure, just to make sure that you don't cut yourself. And then now I'm going in with my spoolie just to remove any of those hairs that I may have cut off. And then for the top part, I'm going in the motion from downwards going upwards, just to trim off the excess of those eyebrows. With this method, you want to make sure you do it very slowly, very gently, because essentially it is a razor, so you don't want to cut yourself. And then keep going back with a spoolie just to clean out the excess. So that's one way that you can be able to trim your eyebrows, especially if you're not so conversant with it. If you are conversant with it, as I did on this other side, you can just trim off the excess eyebrows. Because I know the shape that I usually draw for my eyebrows, I know which eyebrow hairs fall outside, so I'm able to just trim them off. And then always make sure to trim off a little bit at a time, just so you don't end up with a line eyebrow and yet you have thick eyebrows. Also, in case you don't like trimming your eyebrows, you can skip this step, but always just make sure you go in with either soap rose or just natural soap or even gel, just to tame your eyebrow hairs, because for people who have thicker eyebrows, then it does tend to look a little messy if they're not tamed down. I'm going in with my spoolie just to remove the excess, and you can decide to go in with a wet wipe to clean out, whichever is convenient for you. Wet wipe is when you don't have any base products underneath, but when you do have base products underneath and you don't want to remove them, then you can always go back in with a spoolie and use that to remove the excess eyebrow hairs. Now let's get into the meat of this tutorial. Again, I'm going in with the same pencil. You can decide to use a pencil or a brow powder or a brow pomade, whichever is convenient for you. I have done another tutorial whereby I used a pencil, but I'm also going to be doing another one using pomade, just to show you guys the different options that you do have. And then I'm using my nose as the center or the guide to where my eyebrow is supposed to start, arch, and end. So that little piece of cartilage where your nose ends at the top, that's where it's supposed to start. And then as your nostril is going towards the side, that point where it arches towards the bottom, that's where it's supposed to arch. And then the end of the eyebrow marks the place that your eyebrow is supposed to naturally end. So because I know these points without even outlining, if you don't know, I do recommend going in with a pencil and then just marking it. It will give you a better direction or a better place to be able to start. And then when you're drawing your eyebrows, you want to go in a straight line, almost going out. And then now when you get to the arch, then you want to go downwards. As you can see, I'm using my pinky finger as the anchor to my drawing, just because I don't want to do it freehand and then end up with lines that are crooked. And then as usual, the top part of the eyebrow, you don't start it at the very top like the bottom part. You outline from a little like half an inch or a quarter an inch away, and then you just do the very same thing, following the natural way that your eyebrows usually go. And then I would recommend using very little force because you want your eyebrows to look as natural as possible. I know obviously with makeup, some people like their eyebrows darker, some people like their eyebrows lighter. So depending on the style that you are looking for, that's what will determine how much you press into your pencil. So I did rub off a little bit of the outline on this side because I was trimming off, so I'm just re-outlining that part. And then I'm gonna later go on with my same pencil and then just fill in. Again, with this one you want to do it with very, 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 very light motion, just so it looks as natural as possible. And then the way that I usually fill in is upwards and outwards in the natural way that your eyebrows usually go. And then in the past I have been doing like the hair like strokes at the beginning and then trimming them or combing them upwards. But nowadays what I like to do, which I find is also a beautiful effect, is I draw and I shade throughout, even towards the beginning part. And then later on I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to diffuse everything so it can come together and look like it started very light and then it goes and then becomes a little bit darker, but still in a natural way. I'll show you guys in a minute what I mean. So I'm filling in the sparse areas of my eyebrows, and especially the areas where you don't have a lot of eyebrow hairs, that's where you want to concentrate. And the places that you do have a lot more eyebrow hairs, you don't want to put too much product because it will end up looking a bit darker than the areas that don't have the concentration of the product. Another thing, when it comes to shading of your eyebrows, you want to make sure that you use the exact same force on both eyebrows so that it can be the same color shade, because sometimes if you are not careful and you don't do that, one eyebrow can end up looking much darker and the other eyebrow can end up looking much lighter. So now here is where we come in with the diffusing. So I'm going to take my clean spoolie and then comb the product and my eyebrow hairs outwards, as you guys can see, almost like in the opposite direction of how I was shading them. And then you want to just drag and lift. That's the motion that I like to use at the beginning. And then I don't use a lot of force because also the more you do it, the more product you're picking up onto the spoolie, so it becomes sparse. So just do it a little bit at the beginning so it can look diffused, because you want to replicate the natural way that your eyebrows usually look, which is starts light at the beginning and then it goes a little bit darker as it proceeds to the end of the eyebrow. So I'm coming through my eyebrows just to distribute the product, and then you see this little part, the top part is much darker than the bottom part. So I'm going in with my spoolie just to diffuse everything together. The spoolie will pick up products. The more you use the spoolie, the more product it picks up. So you want to be very intentional with how you're doing it. So if you want to pick up more product, then use a spoolie. If you want to pick up less, then use very little force. And then now this here is a trick on how to achieve 5-minute eyebrows. After you have gone in with your cleaning, with your outlining and with your shading, you can go in with a wet wipe and then just use your finger and make sure the wipe is sharp, or rather tight, on your finger, and then just clean any excess to form that shape. This is in those situations where you want to look like you've done something, but you don't necessarily want to invest the time to go in with your concealer and then start cleaning in your eyebrows. So this is a quick and easy way to be able to have the brows but still not go in with the concealer effect. But if you do want to go in with slightly more defined brows, then obviously we'll go in with our concealer later on. But this is a nice little hack that I like to do, and especially on those days when I don't want to necessarily wear a full face of makeup. So I'm just cleaning that out, and then this part looks a little, it doesn't look as diffused or as sharp rather at the end as the other side. So I'm just sharpening that out, and then I'm using my finger to just clean out the little unibrow situation that had formed. And this is how we are looking. This is a really good tip, guys, especially if you don't want to go in with your concealer. And then next up, I'm going with my go-to-be glue. You can alternate this with soap brows or gel, and then I'm applying it on my spoolie and then just combing through the product on the whole part of my eyebrow. This is just to set it and to make sure that it stays in place all day. I don't recommend using this product so much because it's not formulated for the eyebrows, but something like soap brows or just normal soap is a good alternative to it if you do have it. And then now I'm going into the concealing. Lately I've really been here and there about the kind of brush that I like to use. I do have a Merak set, which is the flat at the top, but then as I was doing my classes with the last student of mine, I used this brush just to show her the different ways and the different brushes that you can be able to use to clean, and I absolutely loved the effect that it had. So you can use this rounded brush, or you can use I was almost saying armor or you can use the flat top or the angled brush, depending on your expertise and how easily you use it. Going again with my clear lash glue, and then what I want to do is saturate the product into the brush and then press out the excess just to flatten our brush. So with makeup, as with any other thing, the goal is to have it as easy as possible for you. So if you find this brush easy, use it. If you find an angled brush easy, then use it. If you find the flat top brush easier, then use it. I'm going in with concealer. This one is illegal in the shade Cool Tan. You can decide to go in with your color of concealer, or two or three shades lighter, depending on the effect that you want. So for this, I'm using just one color, and this one is Cool Tan, to clean my eyebrows. And as usual, I am going in with my pinky finger as my sense of support, because you never want to do this freehand unless you are like very stable with your hand movement. So I'm cleaning it slowly by slowly, and then making sure that everything looks nice and diffused and sharp, because that's the effect that we're going for. So because I had already cleaned this eyebrow off camera, I want to show you guys how you align it. So you almost want to draw a transparent line, or you can even draw a real line just to connect the two eyebrows together. The reason for this is to make sure that both eyebrows are the same thickness. A lot of times if you do them without aligning them, then you'd find that one eyebrow is thick and the other one is thinner. And then here I'm showing you guys the placement. Whenever I hold or I'm cleaning my eyebrows, I always like to do it with the center of my brush, because towards the brush, towards the top of the brush or towards the end of the brush usually doesn't do it for me. But again, as I said earlier, whatever method works for you, use that. So I'm cleaning it, and as you guys can see, I'm taking it slowly by slowly, just really outlining the very same way I outlined. And for the top part, I went in a straight line, and then for the bottom part, you want to arch in the same way that you outlined. So I'm saturating my brush with the product, and you always want to make sure that both sides have the product just for the best effect. And again, using my pinky finger as my support, I'm cleaning up that bottom part of my eyebrow. And as you're cleaning, you want to make sure you drag down the concealer just to have that consistent coverage on the whole eyelid, and especially in the area underneath the eyebrow, so it doesn't look transparent on one end and then a bit darker on the other end. You can choose to go in with a brush. I recommend a dense brush, either flat-ended or fluffy, to blend out, but I also recommend, if you have a beauty blender, you can also use a beauty blender which is damp. I do nowadays tend to like using beauty blenders more often than brushes, but it's all preference. And then what you want to make sure to do is always blend out the edges. So that means the end of the concealer where the tail of the eyebrow is, and at the beginning as well. If you don't end up doing this, then once it dries down and then you're coming in with your foundation, concealer, etc., and all your base products, and it does usually end up looking a bit patchy, like there was something that was there that wasn't blended in nicely. So you always want to make sure that you've blended it into your skin in a way that there is no defined harsh line on either of the ends. So I'm just pushing in the product because I want the coverage to be there. And then now I'm using the residue on my beauty blender. I'm gonna pinch it just so it doesn't clean any of my eyebrow products, and then up and down I'm gonna move the beauty blender just to clean out that part so I don't look like I have a unibrow. And then again, I did go off camera and did the other side, and I want to show you guys how I do the cleaning of the top part using this other eyebrow. So again, as with the bottom part, you want to make sure you've aligned. The reason being, you want your eyebrows to be of the same thickness, not one thinner and the other one thicker. And then I'm using the edge of the brush to just clean out, and as usual I'm going to go in a straight motion, and then once I get to the arch of my eyebrow, I want to start now slanting, going downwards. It's always important to know how to hold your brush, because it will really help you to either have a really easy time with cleaning your eyebrows or a very hard time. And because I think I'm a bit more experienced with eyebrows, I'm not using my pinky finger for the top part to clean. But if you do struggle with it, then I do recommend going in with your pinky finger just for that support. And then you want to make sure that you go in almost towards the front part of your eyebrow, and then you're almost going backwards. The reason is because sometimes I've noticed that some eyebrows do tend to look like they're thicker at the beginning and they become thinner at the mid part, and I don't find it really flattering unless that's the kind of style that you're looking for. But if you want your eyebrows to look as natural as possible, I do recommend that step, because it's a small step but it really does go a long way to making sure that your eyebrows look even and of the same thickness. So as you guys can see, that's how the eyebrows is going, starting off a bit thicker and then going a bit thinner, and this is the final look. I did go off camera and I did the rest of this look, and I did film this tutorial, so definitely look out for that. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching this tutorial and you learned a thing or two, especially because it's a little bit different from my last one, but I hope you did pick up some gems here and there. And I will see you guys on my next video. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Mwah!